So this is Terry, and I'm Joelle. Obviously, they know who I am. Okay, let's restart that. Hello and welcome back to Nurturing Nature. My name is Joelle Simpson, your Miss South Dakota 2024. And before we jump into my time at Reptile Gardens, I want to explain a little bit more about this episode's format because it's going to be very different than the first episode. If you watched the last episode, you might be confused because at the end we showed this awesome footage of a bird of prey landing and said our next episode would be with the Black Hills Raptor Center. Which is true, that will be our next full episode. This video, the one you are watching now, we are calling Nurturing Nature SideQuests. And SideQuests are different from the main series in a couple of ways. Firstly, they are going to be a lot shorter and have less production value. This means that they take a lot less time and resources to create. The full episodes take a lot of effort to make, so SideQuests will help us to have something to put out while we are working on the main episodes. The main series is focused specifically on South Dakota conservation. We emphasize fieldwork and center the voices of conservation experts. SideQuests will be a lot more flexible in content. They will still be educational and mostly science related, but not necessarily focused on South Dakota conservation. We have future SideQuests planned around biology, paleontology, archaeology, and even physics. Today's SideQuest is at Reptile Gardens, one of the largest collections of reptiles on the planet. I feel like it's important to say this video is not sponsored. We were given no money by Reptile Gardens. Actually, we are going to talk more about our money and budget later, so if you're interested in how to support the series, stick around. Also, Reptile Gardens was given no editorial control over the content, although they did review segments for fact-checking purposes. I had a great time there. I think the only two things that I got to experience that your regular guest wouldn't be able to do are getting to go into the crocodile enclosure and getting to pick up a live rattlesnake with a snake picker-upper thingy. That was all done under close expert supervision. Now that all the housekeeping is taken care of, I hope you enjoy this Nurturing Nature SideQuest.
We have an incredibly large collection here at the Reptile Gardens. It's a very diverse group of animals. We have just about every type of snake that you could ever, that you've ever seen on television. We have it here. Black mambas, taipans, king cobras, big giant pythons. We have giant crocodiles. I want you to meet some of our really cool, probably my favorite animals here are going to be the giant tortoises. Okay. You gotta meet the giant tortoises. You know what I'm saying?
I was watching him eat off the plant over there earlier. Orville loves carrots, as you can tell.
Can I feed him a carrot?
You can. You feed him a carrot. Oh, yeah, watch your feet. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Perfect. Oh, like.
Hi. Got banana in your mouth? We got a big guy here. Who is this?
Back to it. This is Orville.
Orville.
So Orville's
Hi,
kind of
Orville.
our oldest resident here at Reptile Gardens. He is currently 119 years old this year. So just a young guy, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, these guys, they live a long time. Nobody really knows how long they live, but 150 years somewhere in there. So.
And what kind of tortoise is he?
This is an Aldabra giant tortoise. So Aldabra giant tortoises are native to the Seychelles Islands, kind of northeast of Madagascar. So they're second largest species of tortoise behind the world famous Galapagos tortoise. So these guys are CITES 2. So they're not quite as endangered as the tortoises we saw earlier.
But they are endangered?
They are endangered, yes. That being said, they are the largest living group of turtles or tortoises in the world. Currently, there's probably close to 200,000 of them in the wild.
So what do they do most of the time?
A whole lot of sleeping.
Sleeping.
Yeah,
Okay.
these guys will sleep for about 14 hours a day. When they're not sleeping, they're eating. You know, we were just feeding him a second ago. You can still see he's got some leftovers. He's just saving that for later.
Well, thank you. This is
Yes, of
this
course.
is an honor
It's
being
awesome.
able to meet him and feed him
That's
and
oldest resident of South Dakota.
oldest resident of South Dakota. That's amazing. Okay, so I guess we're just gonna chat, and I'm just not gonna look at the croc.
No, you don't need to look at them at all.
It'll be fine.
So, what we have in our hands, you have a baby American alligator. I have a baby Orinoco crocodile. These are not critically endangered. These are critically endangered. This is one of the most critically endangered species in the world as far as crocodilians are concerned. They are from the Orinoco River Basin, which is in Venezuela area, Amazon. Crocodilian conservation is one of the biggest success stories in conservation, especially because how sought after they are for their skin. This Orinoco crocodile is actually one of the most sought after for its skin. It has one of the softest skins. And if it wasn't for crocodilian conservation, we would have none left. We wouldn't really even have alligators either. It's a very big success story, and it basically boils down to showing that there is value in these animals when they are alive, not just when they're dead. You can't get rid of the value when they're dead. They will be traded and produced for their skin, but you can use that to help conservation in all of these facilities that raise them for their skin. Also put a lot of them back into the wild, which is basically conservation at its core. And again, if that wasn't happening, we wouldn't really have any crocodilian species left. Especially like these Orinocos in the wild, we only think that there's about 500 to maybe 1,500 in the wild, rough estimate.
Okay.
Maybe even as low as 200.
You recently got bit. Can you tell me about that experience?
Yeah, so I got bit by one of these alligators out here during a show. It was completely my fault. It is never their fault. They're an animal. They're gonna do what they do. It's my fault putting my hand in their mouth. We like to demonstrate what they are capable of. We get them to jump. It's very easy to get them to jump. They can jump very high. We show how powerful their jaws are. That's one of the main draws to this animal. It's their very powerful, strong jaws. And they're very fast. We like to show how fast they are. And he was faster that day. So it happens. I'm all right though. I got all the fingers.
This is Washake. He is one of our bald eagles that we keep here at Reptile Gardens. One of the beautiful natives and our national symbol, if I do say so myself.
Well, he is gorgeous. Tell me more about him. How did he come to Reptile Gardens?
So Washake was found in Indiana with an injury. You can probably tell he's holding his right wing out just a little bit odd.
Yeah.
He has tissue damage in there, which means he can still fly, just not very long or very far, which is kind of important. So because of that, he is deemed non-releasable and therefore can be kept in captivity. But the interesting thing about it is, despite the fact that they're a national symbol, they were actually endangered in the mid-20th century. In fact, in 1950s, there was only about 400 breeding populations out there, which is not very great for our national symbol. But with all the hard work, we were able to pull them off the endangered species list in 1995, and they're no longer threatened as of 2007.
Good. Well, that's great to hear. What regulations are there, in the United States to help protect these amazing birds?
Good question. So the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918 is the big one that protects all native birds, including your robins, your songbirds, your blue jays, and even up to your hawks and eagles. Bald eagles especially are protected by the Eagle and Golden Eagle Treaty Act, which specifically protects them. This is very hard, fastened laws that help make sure that they are very well cared for and protected.
Well, good. So what What can the everyday person do to help, protect our eagles and to protect our bird populations?
Yeah, good question. The biggest thing is try when you're hunting, make sure you clean up after yourself. A lot of the issues that we have with eagles is they'll eat the leftovers from kills, and it causes them to get lead poisoning from any sort of stray bullets or any bullet casings that may be left over. So cleaning up after yourself and make sure that you're taking good care of the environment is a big one. Make sure you're not leaving anything in lakes and rivers. These guys are avid fishers, so if they're catching things, they don't want to be eating plastic bags and other leftover things that we're leaving behind.
What we're gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and bring him out. He's gonna be a little cantankerous. So I'll just have you step back just a hair there.
All right.
And we'll get him out. Here.
So here is Rattle.
You hear that?
I do. It's really loud.
There we go. Now this guy here. So this guy is our, oh, there you go. He strikes right on cue for us. This is our local prairie rattlesnake, and you can see he's real happy to be here. He's wagging his tail for you.
Yeah, I can see that.
This is a very typical prairie rattlesnake that we're gonna have here in the Black Hills. Some of them are a little greener than this.
Wow. He's staring right at me.
But this is a very typical rattlesnake that we have here in the Black Hills. There's a lot of wive tails, a lot of things that people hear about rattlesnakes. Some of them are true, some of them are not. But one of the most interesting things that I like to talk about is that the rattlesnake is not required to get permission from his butt to bite. It just doesn't make any sense. Okay. So rattlesnakes don't have to rattle before they strike. They can strike first and then rattle. They can rattle and not strike. There's any number of combinations that they can do with that. But it is strongly intended to let other animals know that, hey, I'm right here and I don't want you to mess with me, so back off.
Wow. So how old is this rattlesnake?
So there's no way to truly tell.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
So everybody seems to think that you can tell how old they are by counting the number of segments on the rattlesnake's rattle. Now, the only thing that you're gonna learn by counting the number of segments on a rattlesnake's rattle is probably exactly what it feels like to be bitten by a rattlesnake. Because if you have to get that close to count the number of segments on there, you're a wee bit too close, right? Right. So these guys will shed their skin anywhere from 1 to 4, 5, 6 times a year. Okay? Oh. And every time they shed their skin, they add a new segment down there to the very base of the tail. Mm-hmm. And they're just like your fingernails, they're fragile, same stuff, will break off all the time. So there's actually no way of telling how old a rattlesnake is.
Interesting. Interesting.
Probably the most common question I get is, what are you supposed to do when you hear that sound, right? You just immediately stop. You can see that movement is what attracts his attention, right? So if you're out there doing that hiking and you hear that sound, you just immediately stop and then just see if you can figure out where he's at.
And what's a safe, distance to be away from them? How far can they extend when they strike you?
So the distance that a rattlesnake can strike, is anywhere from half to about 2/3 of their full body length. Okay. So obviously I don't recommend that you want to stretch them out and measure them and see, let's get a little closer, So we don't want to do that. But the way that I look at it is the prairie rattlesnakes that we have here in South Dakota, they're typically under that 36-inch mark. They can sometimes get up a little bit bigger than that, but the most rattlesnakes here are 3 feet. Okay. So if you stay, 2 feet or more away from them, you're in fine shape, zero dramas. Okay. Probably talk about though, is what do you do if you get bitten?
Yes, that is good to know. Yeah. What do you do?
So what do you do if you get bitten by a rattlesnake? The most important thing that you can have in your first aid kit for snake bite is actually your car key. Really? You use it as a manufacturer's intend. You put it in the ignition and go to the hospital. Preferably have someone else drive you. Losing consciousness does happen periodically after a snake bite, so you don't want to be going 60 miles an hour down the road, right, and crash. But you want to get to emergency services as quickly as you can. If you're 10 miles out, or if you're 10 minutes out or 10 feet out, the only thing that you can do to treat a rattlesnake bite is to get antivenom. And antivenom is only administered in the hospital. So you want to get to the hospital as quickly as you can, as safely as you can. Sometimes that's 911 and life flights. Sometimes that's, you know, your friend driving you or what have you. But you do want to get to the hospital for antivenom. It's the only thing that treats a snake bite. Don't do any of that other stuff, all that other crap that you hear about, you know, where you cut and suck the venom out, or you put on a tourniquet, or my personal favorite is to hook yourself up to a car battery and electrocute yourself.
Oh, okay.
You don't want to do any of that stuff. None of that.
Good to know.
None of that
Good
stuff
to
works,
know.
and it all does some harm.
Yeah.
But you definitely don't want to do any of those types of things. Just get yourself to the hospital. Try to stay calm. If you have constricting jewelry on, take it off because you're going to swell up. It's kind of bad. It's no fun.
I feel like I've gotten a lot more comfortable with snakes today, and I hope that others will feel more comfortable with snakes in South Dakota. And I just thank you for sharing your knowledge about these amazing creatures.
You are very, very welcome. You want to do something really cool? You want to put it back in the bucket?
Sure.
If this goes well, we'll do it. Otherwise, we'll stop.
All right. If
So
this
you just take on the end of that sucker there, and I'll stay between you and him. You just get it underneath this little spot here, and you're just going to lift gently straight up. Up, 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 up. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Right into the bucket. Yep, and then turn the tip. Yep.
I did it! Nice.
My favorite part of my job is probably making the connection between people and animals in an interesting, entertaining, and safe environment. It really is probably the most interesting part of my job. So when we talk about animals in captivity, conservation is a really strong word that we do a lot of things with. And there's lots of different layers of conservation. I participate in this level, other people at this level, and other people do some really amazing things. But what I believe one of the most important roles of zoos and zoological facilities like ours is to protect the animals that we have on grounds here, create a very positive message about the animals out there, and do everything that we can to make this person appreciate this animal just a little bit more. And when you're working with the kinds of animals that I have, snakes,
Yes.
not very many people like snakes. As a matter of fact, I really kind of think it's good job security here. You know, it's not nobody wants my job. But conservation has many different facets, and one of the most important ones is engaging the general public to make people love something that they're unfamiliar with.
I hope you enjoyed this side quest. Thank you to the whole team at Reptile Gardens. I had a blast and learned so much. If you want to learn more about Reptile Gardens, I will leave a link to their website down in the doobly-doo below. After the first episode, several people mentioned they wanted to support the channel. We are still trying to find the best way to facilitate financial support, but our next video we will have something set up. Honestly, the series is not cheap and takes a lot of time and a fair amount of money, and we want to make this sustainable in some way, so we are trying to figure out what that looks like. In the meantime, if you want to support our work financially, send us an email and we will let you know how you can help. If you can't support us financially, sharing this video with other people goes a long way to helping us. If you are connected to any conservation work or cool science stuff, reach out. We would love to connect. Thank you so much for watching. Let's nurture nature so it nurtures us.